My name is Valerie White-Williams, and today I am talking about spiritual ethics for readers. So, as you may know, that I attended the Washington Psychic Institute. Now it's called the CDM Psychic Institute, and the founders of the Washington Psychic Institute trained at the Berkeley Psychic Institute, and there are actually psychic institutes now all over the world. And I was so grateful to train with them back in the day in Seattle in the 90s. And I've learned so much from that I've kept throughout my life. And so one of the things I want to talk about today is spiritual ethics. I'm very grateful that we were taught spiritual ethics, because when you're in a reading situation, it's very easy for the reader to program you. And those are the people that aren't really ethical, or maybe they don't understand boundaries. Because what we were taught is, first of all, whenever we did a reading with any student, as a student, we would always say a prayer. And the prayer was, the Divine Spirit, let everything that happens in this reading is going to benefit all of us in our spiritual growth, awareness, and understanding. So that was the foundation of the reading. Because the idea of the reading, what happens is when you're in a reading situation, the reader tends to be in a powerful position, and the readee is the person that is open. So they really have to be open to be read, but the reader can take advantage. And like I said, maybe not purposely, because there's this kind of power over exchange. And so when you're opening up to be read, they can actually program you without knowing, because that was very clear to us. You don't want to tell people what to do. So here are the things we were taught not to do in a reading. And of course, we all wanted to do that because it's just normal. The things that we were not supposed to do in a reading is, number one, give advice. Number two, tell the future. So that's really what happens a lot of times in readings, is people be asking, when am I going to get married? When am I going to find my soulmate? What should I do with my boyfriend? Should I get a new job or not? Or things like that. So when the readee is asking questions like that, we were taught to refrain it. We're not going to tell them what to do. We're not going to read the future. So the reason why is that if you are a reader and you are reading somebody, and you get asked, should I leave my boyfriend or I get a new job? That is not your choice to make that decision. You are programming the reader, and then it's going to be back to the ego. So that's the thing about readers, is that if you are in an egoistic position, you're not being clear. So if you're going to give people advice, you're basically coming from your own experience and telling people what to do. And that invalidates them. So that's what we were taught not to do, is you're not going to invalidate somebody and use your opinion in a reading setting. Now, if you're going to be using your opinion in a reading setting, that means you're out of trance. You're not really focusing on them. You're focusing on yourself and your own opinion. And that was like a no. We were trained not to do that. And usually if you start doing that, that means that you have a match with that reader and the readee, and that you're not looking at your own stuff, and you're just like talking something that you shouldn't be saying. So what we were taught, if someone did go to a reading and they said, tell me, should I leave my boyfriend or should I get a new job? We were taught to rephrase the question to say, what's keeping me from knowing what I need to do? See, and that gives back the power to the readee, and you don't invalidate them. But I've seen this quite a bit, where a lot of readers are always giving advice, tell me, and they're disempowering the readee, because they're open and it's very easy to be programmed. And it's not good for the reader either, because the reader is not in a neutral place. To be a psychic reader, you have to put yourself behind. You have to look at what the pictures show up, not your opinion. It's really not about your opinion. It's about showing what is being seen on your screen. So we do not give advice. The second thing is, you don't tell the future. Why? Because the future is to be determined. The future is not set. It never is set. So when people want to talk about the future, they're basically on a power trip and they're not honoring the readee. So when people say something like that, is what's going to happen to me when I'm going to meet my boyfriend or whatever, you're going to rephrase the question and say, what's keeping me from being confident in my future? What's keeping me from this goal? You know, what is it? Or we would say, maybe I want to get a new job, and when will I do that? So what you would rephrase that is, what's keeping me from creating this new job? So it's always looking at blocks. We're always looking at what's blocking people. What's blocking me from knowing what I need to know? What's blocking me from creating my future? So now we're giving the power back to the readee, not the reader. So after I did the training at the Washington Psychic Institute, many years later, was back in the day where I had small children and a desktop computer, and I signed up to be a reader on some Ask a Psychic place. And the way we were paid is you had to keep people on camera all the time. You're always going to talk to them. It didn't really work out because my kids were in the room, and that was before I had a laptop. But to be honest, I really hated it, because I had so many people asking me, when am I going to find my soulmate? When is going to happen? When are we going to do that? When are we going to do this? And I just couldn't really rephrase it for them because I kept asking these questions. And again, they're just giving their power away. The reading situation should be empowering, not disempowering. So I didn't last. The only clients I really liked working on there were other readers, because they understood that the reading should be empowering. The reader should not be putting their ego up there and reacting and giving advice, because that's coming from an ego position, and it's not healthy to the reader or the readee. So I didn't last in that place. In fact, I probably have money that they've owed me, but I was like, I'm out of here, because I just couldn't handle it. I want to help people get through their blocks. And that's what we were taught. So the spiritual ethics are, we're not going to program people, even if you don't mean to. Even if you think that you have great advice, you don't. Because the advice is actually coming from your ego, what works for you. That advice may not work for that other person sitting in the chair. And it really invalidates them when you try to tell them what to do. It's not helping. In fact, that's what I pretty much do most of my life. Now, I'm a vocal coach as well, and I definitely will give them advice about the technique and the songs and things like that. But that's different than your life, what you need, questions in your life. Because we all are powerful creatures. We all have that information inside. What a psychic reading should do is kind of give someone some perspective that they can't see, but give them the power to make their own decisions. Because I'm not you and you're not me. And so we need to actually respect that. And then the future telling, that's just a no. Because the future is constantly being recalculated. There's so many timelines. That's what we talk about now. The timelines are always shifting and changing. And so those timelines come from the person, not the reader. And so what happens sometimes is some readers are not very ethical, and they're going to say, wow, you better be careful. You might die here, or you might have this, or there's going to be something happening. And then that creates a story that they're going to believe, and then they'll create it. So this is where the ethics of telling the future is not ethical, because people are open to it. And so it's kind of almost dark arts, in my opinion. You can see that there might be some trends, maybe, especially when I do astrology readings. Sometimes it's like, okay, there's stuff going on, but you can't pinpoint it, because every soul is in charge of their reality, and you need to honor that. And the reader does not need to bring their personality or opinions into a reading at all. You need to give neutral information to that readee so they can make their own decisions, and empower them to make the decision. So usually when people are confused and they don't understand what to do next, is that they have blocks from seeing clearly. And again, that's what the clairvoyant training did, is help you see clearly, because we all have blocks. we live on planet Earth and we have biases and things that we don't want to see, because sometimes we don't want to see what's behind that. And so that's how a readee and a reader can help. But to give advice or tell the future, that was always a no. And then we'd have to stop ourselves if we want to do that. So I'm super grateful. I've used that advice my whole life. And even when I counsel people, even in the musical world, I don't give them advice. I don't tell them what to do. I want to give them some solutions or choices, but not tell people what to do. And just listen and reflect the power back to them. All right, so I hope this was helpful. I'm sure you guys have seen readers that are giving advice and telling the future, but you don't really need to take that, because you're disempowering yourself if someone is going to tell you those things. So let me know any experiences that you've had with kind of some shady readers or empowering readers. I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And also I want to let you know that I have 2 free passion projects on Facebook. The first one is YouTube Success Strategies, and that's where I'm coaching people how to build a YouTube channel. And then Creative Soul Alignment, and that's my heart passion project for people that love creativity and spirituality. Because here's the deal, we are all spiritual and we are all creating. We're here to create a world that works for all of us without creepy overlords telling us what to do. So the way we create is we visualize it first. All creation is that way. And when we visualize it, the solution will come into play, because we don't need parasites telling us what to do. So visualize a world that works for everybody, where everybody has what they need, and there's nobody controlling and doing nasty stuff on this planet. I think once we get on board with everybody thinking that, the world's going to change. All right, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.